Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional Go player. In this video, I'm going to show you a game I played in the Judan tournament against Nakaonoda Tomomi. And in this game, I have white. Let's just get into it. So I have white, and black has played the Kakari here. And I'm going to be trying the same Joseki that I showed in a previous game against Kenmochi Eitan, in which I kick. The greatest value of this move is that it creates a solid position for me in the corner, and it's going to give me sente, or keep the tempo. So black will extend here, and when I jump here, black has to add a stone to the right side. So for instance, some kind of a corner enclosure in the lower left is also a big move, but pinchering here is also a very important point. And when white does that, these two black stones are going to become heavy. They're going to have a heavy shape. So I think I have a good position if I can get the pincer there. Black played here, and I play this Kakari in the lower left corner. This approach move that I play in the lower left corner is one of the reasons. The fact that this is a big move is one of the reasons that I chose a Joseki in the lower right, which would give me sente, which would give me the tempo. So black answers here, a very solid move. It works well with the fact that black has a lot of potential on the left side, and in this game black has a position on the right too, so black has some potential towards the center already. We're seeing that developing in this game. And so I invade the 3-3 point. Black could have continued here. I played the hane, so locally black's continuation would be, for instance, something like this. And this Joseki, it depends on the ladder. So at this point, if white plays here, and if black can capture in a ladder, usually I would say this is fairly good for black. In this case, since the ladder is good for black, maybe I'm going to play here. This is also a Joseki variation, and black will capture the one stone, and the fight ensues here. I don't really profit from saving these 3 stones, so at this point I would probably play away. And it's an even game. This is about even. At some point, white's going to save those stones, but maybe not yet. So if black uses a move to capture them, then I can just play elsewhere on the board. And the value of this is that this area on the left side, this was an area that black had a lot of potential to build a moyo in. Black had potential to build from the left side. So in this variation, black has lost that. So that's what makes it okay for white to be giving black some profit on the upper side. In the game, black simply played this large point on the left side, and I finished my shape in the upper left corner. So this is a very big move, and it's reducing the potential of black's area here. And black played here. Now this move, it looked wrong to me, and I'm happy to say that the computer program AlphaGo agreed with me about that. And black's natural move is to press here. So just to give an example of what might happen after that, I would probably do something with this stone, but I don't really want to play a lot of moves on the third line and second line on the lower side here, because that would allow black to be pushing from above and creating potential towards the center of the board. So it's very natural here for me to want to sort of switch to the corner with a move like this. And this might be a normal continuation, where black is getting a lot of potential towards the center of the board. So for instance, something like this. So this would have been okay for black. I think once I play this move, the game is starting to look a bit better for me. So black invades once, not to give me the whole lower side. It might have been more normal for black to kick here, in which case I would just take a position on the lower side. And by getting this position with stones on the 4th line, I am reducing black's potential in the center of the board. So having these stones on the 4th line makes it relatively difficult for black to start building any area in the center of the board, in the space where I've marked. So I would be happy with that variation. In the game, black plays here and invades once. I can't afford to allow black to peep at this point. So I kick once, and I jump. So at this point, white is one move away from having a completely alive shape on the side, but also is out in the center. So for the time being, these white stones are slightly stronger than black stones on the lower side. And it looks, for the time being, it looks like black's potential in the center of the board is pretty much gone. And I jump in. So this move, it was well timed. It was important to play it now, because if I play away, this would be another point. But when black plays here, it's now it's going to be very difficult, or probably impossible, for me to invade deeply like that. So it was my last chance to invade on the third line. And if black does get this whole left side, that's going to be a fairly large territory. So it's reasonable for me to jump in here. And black played once here. And I just ignored it. I played here. So I've played all the important points as far as defending my territories. I have something like 15 points in the upper right corner. And more than 10 points here. And about 10 points in the lower right corner. And a few points here. So I'd say, let's see this, I'd say I have about 45 points. And black does not really have any solid territory yet. I think I have a slight lead in territory in this opening. I was feeling good about it. And here, Kadawa wanted me to play the Hane underneath. And this could get a bit complicated. The relatively simple variation is when black cuts here and plays an Atari. He might have been planning to play something like this, and this might follow. With me creating a weak group on the right side, and I have this weak stone on the left side. But it does look like, with everything else fairly solid, maybe I can handle both groups. So for a human player, it is a bit worrying, but white does have a solid lead in territory. So it's probably good for white. In the game, I just extended here, and I thought I was making some potential on the right side. It probably wasn't such a big move to play this Hanetsugi on the second line. So maybe if I just played here, black will get this forcing move and has another forcing move at this point. But it's not a big deal. So I could have played that way, and it would have been perfectly okay. In this position, my group on the left side of the board has been reinforced by one move. So I actually have an even fight here in the center of the board. I have some potential to be attacking black in the upper left also. So this is another variation that would have been perfectly okay for me. When I start the game with a lead in territory, I am aware of the fact that sometimes I tend to take a bit too much territory, and I lose the timing to play a move that affects the overall board position. So this is an example of that. It's just, I think I was just a little bit too greedy here. So black plays away. Now this is threatening to attack that white stone on the left side, and I just ignored it and invaded here. So this was a positional choice that I made to start this fight on the right side, and my idea is that the fact that I played this stone is weakening black's group there, and at some point I can attack that black group on the right side too. So I'm playing an aggressive move here. But it would have been more reasonable for me to connect on the left side. So I played this aggressive move, and black covers here. So now I was saying to myself, I don't want to overplay here. So I was thinking I wanted to play here, and it turns out this was the correct move, and something like this. This would keep the game about even. It would be a balanced game. In the game, I couldn't stop myself from going in one more space, and this was a bit of an overplay. So black gets to play the capping move, and I'm getting into trouble here, and black plays here. This is another sharp move, and I probably should have just played away, something like this. Instead, I played this move, and this is going to be bad for me. It would have been bad if black had played the Hane at this point. So this is an important move. At this timing, when black plays it now, it's going to be forcing, threatening to cut and capture these white stones in the corner. So this would have been forcing. And when white answers it, now black is connected on the side. Which means that even if white wedges here, black can connect here, and black is connected there. And the cut here is not very much of an issue. So this would be a slight lead for black, I believe. The game would continue maybe something like this, and I would have to escape in the center. Black would have potential on the right side of the board. So this would be playable for black. To be honest, it's not a very good local result for white. So when I pushed here, black answered. I got to put a cut in here, and then I managed to wedge. So at this point, that hane towards the corner is no longer forcing. So if black plays it now, I will now take there. And if black continues like this, now those stones in the corner, they're not dead yet. In fact, white can start the ko and use moves like this as ko threats. And with the cut left here, this is just going to be bad for black. So black did not have that option. And black answered here, and I connected underneath. At which point my opponent threw in at the ko. So this is where the game starts to look good for me. And I was actually very happy that he immediately played the ko, because it would have been much more difficult for me if he had not played the ko immediately. For instance, if black had played something like this, if I connect there, I'm going to have to connect on the third line also, after black connects in the center. So on the whole, this is just an example of how white lives in the lower left corner. But on the whole, for instance, locally, if black connects here, white's going to end up at some point connecting here, playing a lot of dame points. And this is playable for black too. So in the game, black starts the ko here, and I'm going to get some kind of a trade. So this is how the game continued. I just escaped in the center here. And the reason that I think this is good for white, just take it a few moves forward, is that although black, by winning this ko here, it cost black a couple of moves there to win the ko. Black's extra profit is the potential to capture these 4 stones. But in this board position, capturing those 4 stones is actually very small. Black can capture it like this, but cutting here is actually a bigger move. So white's going to get a big territory on the upper side in return for black capturing those 5 stones in the corner, and white's profit is bigger. So as we see later in the game, it's actually more important for black to play here, or even to play the squeeze from this side and play here, which means black is going to end up giving up the opportunity of capturing the upper left corner. So black's extra profit from winning that ko was actually very small. So that's one factor there. Let's just go back a few moves. So my ko threat was the cut here. Basically, I was threatening to continue with something like this, to get a strong position in the center. And again, the cut here is really big. So black's going to have to protect there rather than try to capture white in the upper left. When black pushed through, I got out. And again, you can see I'm emphasizing the value of this cut here, so as to make my loss of the ko relatively small. And black plays here. And this was a kind of a tesuji move. When I play here, and if black plays here, I can play here. It's just the shape move that I'm playing here. So this would give me a lot of forcing moves against those black stones in the center. And this is sort of in a vital shape point, making it very awkward for black. So that's what we're seeing when black plays here, avoiding that kind of a result and getting relatively better shape. So when I played here, this is a fairly tight move where I was also thinking of playing here, which is actually the move that Kato will like better. This would be a more active move, but it would be a bit weak on the side when black plays something like this. It would be more difficult for me to get any territory there. So I'm playing a relatively tight move. At this point of the game, I'm thinking that I have a lot of territory, and it's going to be relatively difficult for black to establish a sizable territory here in the center. It means that I should be able to run away with my territorial lead. That was my idea when I played here. And I was playing a relatively safe move. And we can see from black's play here that black really has to accomplish something on the upper side. So black's going to try to do that. And he started with this move. For instance, capturing white in the upper left corner, the whole upper side would become white's territory. This would just not be good enough for black. So he squeezes here and connects. And the problem for me is how to surround the upper side. In the game, I played the strongest move. And it turns out, even if I try to play something a bit looser, like for instance like this, it's going to be the same problem when black does stuff like this. If this happens, this actually creates a lot more bad aji, with the potential for black to play here and push through maybe, forcing move here, for instance, among a lot of various problems that I might have. So that's actually bad aji. Or if I extend here, now there's the fact that black can push through here. This is creating a lot of potential for black also. So actually, to back off here is going to create more potential for black. And the move I played, the stronger move, makes it more difficult for black. So I played like this, not giving up anything. And black continues trying to make something out of this. So this was pretty much a forced sequence. If black had connected here, this would have been relatively easy in a position where I can even afford to give up that one stone, because black's not going to have room for two eyes. So it's better for black to play like this. Basically, if black had gone towards the corner, then it would have died with me playing on the outside. So that doesn't work. So black plays here, leaving a potential eye towards the corner, and then cuts. I extend. And this is where black had a way to make something out of this. So I'll call this the losing move. It continued like this, and this was the killing move. So I'll go into more detail later, but this actually kills the whole black group. So obviously it's good for white. So to go back a few moves, what black could have done was he could have played here. And this is going to be a very exciting Tetsuji. I could have actually made a Tetsuji problem out of it, but it would have been a bit difficult, I think. So white has a number of ways white might try to answer this move. The first one I'll look into is this one. If white plays here, black can play an Atari here and cover here. And it looks like it might not be working. For instance, if black connects here, white can connect on the upper side, and black has no way, because black is short of liberties, black cannot attack the two white stones. So this is actually working for white. And in this case, black would continue with something like this. But white would get out into the center with this, and black would not be gaining very much. So that would not be a complete success for black. But what black can do is black can play here and make a ko. So this ko is actually, it's probably good for black. It's going to be difficult. I have to answer in the center because this would be terrible. So I'll start by taking the ko, but assume a black ko threat, then white's going to have to play something in the center, and black can get a ko here. So this is what's going to happen. So that's what happens if white plays this move. And now to look at what happens if white plays here. So this is the fun one where black pushes through here, and it looks like black wants to cut here. But this would just be dead when white squeezes and curls around here, making 3-stone dead shape. If black takes the 1 stone, white plays here. And black's basic problem here is that if black makes an eye here, then black runs out of liberties and cannot push at this point. So that means that in this case, white will just fill a liberty on the outside, and black is losing the race to capture. Black has no way to push. So that's dead. So it looks like this is working for white, but black has a move that is a kind of a blind spot. Black can play here. And now white has no way to squeeze from above. And this is really, the reason it's a blind spot is that usually you would expect black to play here and leave the potential to cut here. This is the usual way for black to use this position. And we know that that is not working for black when white plays the squeeze from above. So that didn't work, but it would be the normal shape. So playing an Atari from this side, it looks wrong. It's kind of a blind spot. But in this case, white has no way to squeeze from above. If white plays like this, white can connect up to the upper left corner, but black has a living shape. And this would be a great success for black. White has to save those stones on the left, probably play something like this. And this would be undecided. It would be a local victory for black. And the overall position, probably actually good for black, but it's a fairly close game. So I can't do that. Going back here, white's correct answer is just to push through here. So this one was a Ko. It's really complicated. Hard to say who's going to win. This one was, instead of cutting here, black's going to play here, and it's going to be a success for black. Probably good for black. And white's correct move is to push through here, in which case this becomes a forcing move, and black can capture the two stones. But white will play here, taking away black's eye space, and play here. And it's okay for white to play this Ko in the corner, because the life of black's group depends on it. So black cannot start the Ko here when black stands to lose the whole group there in the center of the right side. So black will probably leave it and go back to the lower side, and the upper left corner is going to be like that. And I'll continue with something like this on the lower side. I can easily live there. And although black is erased, taking a chunk out of the upper side, the price for this is that I got the whole upper left corner in a position where black actually had the potential to capture some stones in the upper left corner. So it's a slight success for black, but maybe not good enough for black to win the game. I think I still have a slight advantage at this point. So that's what black could have done there. In the game, black plays the Kosumi. This was the losing move, and white can actually kill this black group with this move. So this is the game variation, where I play this move, again, creating the 3-stone dead shape there. Black can capture once, but if black makes this eye, black loses the liberties to play this move. Black cannot play there, which means that white can connect up on the side. And black has no way to chase those stones. So black cannot make that second eye there. In the game, black jumped out and took the 3 stones and squeezed me here. And because black K17 is forcing, I cannot play here. This would be a disaster. So I push through, black squeezes and connects. And this is the final important move. If I had cut here, then black would play here, and the cut here is captured in a ladder, and it would be a race to capture between this white group in the center and the black group on the upper side. You can see there's a Ko there, so it's not going to be unconditional. So playing this Atari is important. If black covers on the outside, then I can cut, and the cut here and capturing 2 stones here are interchangeable points. So my group is going to be fairly strong now. In the game, black connected, and it continued like this. And with this move, I have created a living shape here. And if black continues with this, then I can jump here, and black is dead. In the center, black can cut me off here, but it's not going to accomplish very much when I'm getting a very strong position there in the center. And my group on the right, not only does it have the potential to connect up to the corner, but it has an abundance of liberties also. So if it ends up being a race to capture, white's going to win that race to capture also. So my opponent resigned at this point. It's a hopeless position. After his whole group there in the upper right, it died. So on the whole, this was a fairly good game. I did sort of show my bad habit of playing too aggressively in a position where my opponent has a strong positional advantage and I have the territory. and I should be playing more carefully in these positions. And I was aware of that, but some of these moves in the center were overplays, and so it's something that I have to learn from this game is to play more balanced moves, more cautiously in my opponent's sphere of influence. So thank you for watching. That's it for this video, and like it if you liked it. I will be making more videos like this, so sign up to my channel if you want to see more like these. Thank you.